I was having dinner with my daughter at the keg when my phone buzzed. Security notification. Front door motion detected. I glanced at the screen, then at Rebecca across the table. She was cutting into her steak, talking about her promotion at the hospital. "Dad, you okay?" she asked, noticing my expression. Motion sensor just went off. Front door. She barely looked up. "Oh, that's probably just Mom's friend dropping off those books she borrowed." You know how Claire is. Always forgetting to mention when she's stopping by. I stared at my daughter. "Your mother passed away 4 years ago, Rebecca. Claire moved to Vancouver 2 years ago. My name is Thomas Whitmore. I'm 63 years old, a retired insurance investigator from Toronto. My wife Margaret died of ovarian cancer in 2020. For the past 4 years, Rebecca has been my whole world. My only child. A surgical nurse at St. Michael's Hospital. Divorced, no kids. We've grown closer since Margaret's death. Sunday dinners became our tradition." Rebecca's fork clattered against her plate. "Right. Sorry. I meant, probably just a delivery. You ordered something from Amazon, didn't you? On a Sunday evening? At 7:30? I pulled up the camera feed. The front door was open. Someone was inside my house. I could see a figure moving through my living room, but the angle wasn't clear enough to identify who it was. "I'm calling the police," I said, already pulling up my phone. "Dad, wait." Rebecca's hand shot across the table, grabbing my wrist. "Don't. It's probably nothing. Maybe the wind blew the door open? Your lock's been sticky lately." The door was closed and locked when we left. I checked it myself. "Just let me call first. Maybe it's the property manager doing an inspection or something." "I don't have a property manager, Rebecca. I own my house outright." But she was already dialing, her phone pressed to her ear. She stood up, walking toward the restaurant's entrance, her voice too low for me to hear. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I'd spent 35 years investigating insurance fraud. You develop instincts. Right now, every instinct I had was screaming. I opened the camera app again and switched to the interior cameras. I'd installed them after a break-in 3 houses down last year. The living room camera showed a woman, mid-40s, wearing a blazer, walking through my house with a clipboard. She was taking photos with her phone. Of my furniture, my walls, my family photos. I zoomed in on the clipboard. I could just make out letterhead. Northwood Realty. A real estate agent was in my house. Rebecca came back to the table. Her face flushed. "Okay. So, don't be mad, but I can explain." "Explain what?" "I've been talking to some people about your living situation, and we think it might be time to consider something more manageable. You're not getting any younger, Dad, and this house is way too big for one person. All those stairs, the maintenance, the property taxes, it's too much." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "You listed my house." "I didn't list it. I just had someone come give us an appraisal, to see what our options are." "Your options?" "I meant your options. You had a real estate agent in my house without my knowledge or permission. I have a key. You gave me a key for emergencies." "This isn't an emergency, Rebecca." "Dad, please, just hear me out. I found this amazing retirement community in Mississauga. It's got everything. 24-hour nursing care, social activities, a pool, a gym. You'd love it there. And the house, if we sell now while the market's hot, we could get at least 900,000, maybe $1 million. She said we. I stood up, threw $200 bills on the table. "I'm going home. Don't follow me." "Dad, please. I'm trying to help you." "Are you? Or are you trying to help yourself?" I drove home in a fog. 35 years of investigating fraud, and I'd missed it happening in my own family. When I pulled into my driveway, the real estate agent's car was still there. A white BMW with Northwood Realty magnets on the doors. I walked in through the front door I'd locked 4 hours ago. The agent was in my kitchen, measuring the counter space. "Who are you?" I asked. She jumped, nearly dropping her tape measure. "Oh, Mr. Whitmore. I'm Sandra Patel from Northwood Realty. Your daughter said you'd be out until 9. I was just finishing up the assessment. My daughter doesn't have the authority to grant you access to my property. She said she had power of attorney. She showed me documentation. My blood went cold. What documentation?" Sandra pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos. She showed me a scanned document. It was a power of attorney form, dated 6 months ago, with my signature at the bottom. Witnessed by someone named J. Fletcher. I'd never signed this document, never seen it before in my life. I need you to leave, I said quietly. Now, after Sandra left, I sat at my kitchen table and tried to remember the past 6 months. Had Rebecca asked me to sign anything? Had there been papers mixed in with birthday cards or tucked into Christmas presents? Then I remembered. August. Rebecca had come over with some forms. She said they were for updating my health insurance beneficiary information after Margaret's death. Just a formality, she'd said. I'd been distracted that day. The anniversary of Margaret's diagnosis. I'd signed without really reading. I went to my filing cabinet in the den. I keep everything, every document, every receipt, every piece of paper that crosses my desk. It's a habit from 35 years of investigating insurance claims. I found the folder labeled Health Insurance, 2022. Inside were the legitimate beneficiary forms I'd filed right after Margaret died. Behind them was another document, Power of Attorney, granting Rebecca full authority over my financial and property decisions, signed by me. Witnessed by someone named Jennifer Fletcher, whose address was listed as the same as Rebecca's. I sat there for a long time, holding that piece of paper. My phone rang. Rebecca. I didn't answer. She called 4 more times. Then the texts started. Dad, please pick up. I can explain everything. I was trying to help you. You're being unreasonable. That last one made me laugh. A bitter, hollow sound. I opened my laptop and started doing what I do best. Investigating. First, I checked my bank accounts. I still had online access to everything. Nothing seemed out of place. My pension deposits were regular. My bills were being paid. Savings account untouched. But when I looked at my joint account with Rebecca, the one we'd opened after Margaret died so she could help me with bills if I ever needed it, there had been activity. $50,000 transferred out 3 months ago. Another $30,000 6 weeks ago. $25,000 2 weeks ago. $105,000 gone. The transfers went to an account I didn't recognize. I traced it through my banking app. It led to an investment account in Rebecca's name. I sat back in my chair, feeling sick. My daughter had been stealing from me. Systematically. For months. I called my bank's fraud department. Got their voicemail. Sunday evening. I left a message. Flagged the account for review. Requested all transaction records for the past year. Then I did something I'd been avoiding. I called my lawyer. James Morrison had been my lawyer for 20 years. He'd handled Margaret's estate, my retirement paperwork, our wills. He answered on the 3rd ring, sounding concerned when he heard my voice. Thomas, everything all right? James, I need you to tell me something. Did Rebecca ever contact you about power of attorney for me? Silence. James, she did, about 8 months ago. She said you were showing signs of cognitive decline, and she wanted to make sure everything was in order. She asked if we could draw up POA documents. And what did you tell her? I told her I'd need to meet with you first, assess your mental state myself. She said you'd be resistant, that you were in denial about your memory problems. I told her that without your direct consent and my professional assessment, I couldn't proceed. I suggested she bring you in for a consultation. She never mentioned this to me. I know. I waited for you to call. When you didn't, I assumed she'd dropped it or handled it elsewhere. She handled it elsewhere, I confirmed, with a forged signature. James swore softly. Thomas, we need to meet first thing tomorrow morning. 8 a.m. My office. Don't sign anything else. Don't transfer any money. And don't talk to Rebecca until we've established a legal strategy. After I hung up, I pulled up my security footage from August. I have cameras that save 60 days of rolling footage, but I'd backed up several months to an external hard drive after a suspicious incident in the neighborhood. I found the date. August 14th. Rebecca's visit. I watched myself answer the door, watched us sit at this same kitchen table. She pulled out papers, put them in front of me. I was looking at my phone, distracted. She was talking, gesturing. I picked up a pen, signed. I couldn't see what the papers said. The angle wasn't right, but I could see Rebecca's face. The way she carefully collected the documents, slipped them into her purse, kissed my cheek. Left. No hesitation, no guilt. How long had she been planning this? I spent the rest of the night going through every document in my house, every paper Rebecca had ever asked me to sign. I found 3 more. A refinancing application for my mortgage, which I'd thought was paid off. a joint investment account application, a change of beneficiary form for my life insurance, switching from the Canadian Cancer Society, which I'd chosen in Margaret's memory, to Rebecca. The mortgage one explained where some of my missing money had gone. She'd refinanced my house without my knowledge, taken out a $200,000 mortgage on a property I'd owned free and clear, and pocketed the money. By morning, I had a complete picture. Rebecca had stolen or redirected approximately $320,000 of my money over the past 8 months. She'd forged power of attorney, refinanced my house, emptied our joint account, changed my insurance beneficiaries, and was in the process of selling my home. At 7:45, my doorbell rang. I checked the camera. Rebecca, holding 2 Tim Hortons coffees and a bag of Timbits. I opened the door but didn't let her in. "Dad, please, can we talk? Did you forge my signature on a power of attorney document?" She flinched. "I had to. You wouldn't have signed it if I asked." "You're right, I wouldn't have. Because I don't need someone making decisions for me." "Dad, you're 63. You're alone in this big house. What happens when you fall down those stairs? What happens when you forget to take your medication? What happens when you can't take care of yourself anymore?" "I'm 63, Rebecca, not 93. I run 5 kilometers 3 times a week. I volunteer at the hospital library. I'm on the board of 2 charities. I don't take any medication except a multivitamin. There's nothing wrong with my health or my mind. Not yet, but it's coming, Dad. And I need to make sure you're protected. Or you need to make sure you have access to my money while I'm still alive to sign things." Her face went pale. "That's not what this is about. Then explain the $105,000 you transferred from our joint account. Explain the $200,000 mortgage you took out on my house. Explain the investment accounts in your name funded with my money. I was investing it for you. For us, the stock market's been good. I was trying to grow your retirement fund. You stole from me, Rebecca. I borrowed from you. I was going to pay it back. With what money? You're a nurse. You make good money, but not enough to pay back $300,000. Not with your lifestyle." She stepped back like I'd slapped her. "My lifestyle? The new Audi you bought in September. The trip to Paris in October. The kitchen renovation you just finished. Where did you think I thought that money came from?" "My divorce settlement. Your divorce was finalized 3 years ago. You got the condo and $40,000. You've spent well over twice that in the past 6 months alone." Rebecca's hands were shaking. The coffees sloshed in their cups. "You've been investigating me. I'm an insurance investigator, Rebecca. It's what I do. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? I'm your daughter. Which makes this so much worse." We stood there, staring at each other across my doorstep. This woman I'd raised, whose diapers I'd changed, whose scraped knees I'd bandaged, whose graduation I'd cheered at, whose wedding I'd walked her down the aisle for. This stranger who'd stolen from me. "I have a meeting with my lawyer in 20 minutes, I said. "I'm going to undo every fraudulent document you created. I'm going to recover every dollar you took. And then we're going to discuss whether I press charges." "Press charges? Dad, I'm your daughter. And you're a thief." I closed the door. James Morrison's office is in downtown Toronto, a corner suite with a view of Lake Ontario. He had 3 other lawyers with him when I arrived. Specialists in elder fraud, estate law, and criminal prosecution. "We're treating this as a comprehensive fraud case," James explained. "Rebecca committed forgery, identity theft, financial exploitation, and potentially mortgage fraud. Each carries serious penalties. I don't want her to go to jail," I said. "I want my money back, and I want her out of my life. Thomas, she stole over $300,000 from you. This isn't shoplifting. This is serious financial crime. She's my daughter. She's a criminal who happens to be your daughter." We spent 4 hours going through everything, documenting each fraudulent transaction, identifying which crimes had been committed, building a case. The criminal lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Okonkwo, laid it out clearly. If we pursue criminal charges, Rebecca faces up to 10 years in prison. The forgery alone is 5 years. The financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, even though you're clearly not vulnerable, carries additional penalties. The mortgage fraud is federal. She'd be destroyed. What's the alternative? Civil recovery. We sue for full restitution, plus damages, plus legal fees. We get your money back, undo all the fraudulent documents, and she walks away broke but not incarcerated. She gets away with it. She gets away without a criminal record. She doesn't get away with your money. I thought about Margaret. What would she want? She'd loved Rebecca fiercely, defended her even when she didn't deserve it. But she'd also had a spine of steel when it came to right and wrong. I want a written confession, I said. Detailed. Everything she did, every document she forged, every dollar she took. Notarized. And I want full restitution within 90 days. Or we proceed with criminal charges. No negotiation. James nodded. I'll draft the agreement. Rebecca's lawyer called the next day. She'd hired someone, which meant she knew how serious this was. They wanted to negotiate. There's nothing to negotiate, James told them. Full confession, full restitution, or criminal charges. Those are the terms. She doesn't have $300,000. Then she'll sell her condo, her car, her furniture, and anything else she owns. She created this problem. She can solve it. It took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of lawyers going back and forth. 3 weeks of Rebecca's increasingly desperate phone calls, which I didn't answer. 3 weeks of me living in my house, looking at photos of my daughter growing up, wondering where I'd gone wrong. Finally, they agreed. Rebecca came to James's office on a Friday afternoon. She looked terrible, thinner, older, her eyes red from crying. She signed the confession, 23 pages detailing every fraudulent act, every forged signature, every stolen dollar, witnessed by 3 lawyers and a notary. "I'm sorry, Dad," she whispered as she signed the last page. "Are you sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught?" She didn't answer. The financial restitution came in stages. She sold her Audi first, bought a used Honda Civic, paid back $90,000. Then she listed her condo. It sold in 2 weeks in Toronto's hot market. That covered another $180,000. The remaining $40,000 came from her selling furniture, jewelry, art, and wiping out her savings. The last payment came through on day 89, $320,000, plus $60,000 in damages and legal fees. Everything she'd taken, everything it had cost me to get it back. I transferred it all back into my accounts, changed every password, closed the joint account, revoked every access she'd ever had. I updated my will, leaving everything to the Canadian Cancer Society in Margaret's name. I had my locks changed, updated my security system, and then I sat in my kitchen and cried for the first time since Margaret died. Not for the money, for my daughter, for the relationship we'd had, for the trust that was gone forever. Rebecca tried to contact me a few times after that. Letters, mostly, apologizing, explaining. She'd gotten into debt, made bad investments, panicked, thought she could borrow the money and pay it back before I noticed, thought she was entitled to it anyway since she'd inherit eventually, thought I was too old to manage my own affairs. Thought, never once considering that what she was doing was wrong. I didn't respond to the letters. I didn't need to hear her justifications. I'd spent 35 years listening to people justify theft, fraud, deception. It always came down to the same thing. They wanted something they hadn't earned, and they decided their want justified taking it. It's been 6 months now. I still live in my house, still run my 5 kilometers, still volunteer at the hospital library, though I requested a different day than Rebecca's shift. I see her sometimes in the cafeteria. She looks smaller somehow, sadder. I don't feel satisfaction about that. I don't feel anything except a dull ache where my daughter used to be. People ask me sometimes, other volunteers, why my daughter doesn't visit anymore. We used to have Sunday dinners, they remember. They saw us together. I tell them we had a disagreement, irreconcilable differences. They nod sympathetically and change the subject. What I don't tell them is this. The people who hurt us most are the ones we trust completely. They're the ones we give keys to our homes, access to our accounts, permission to make decisions on our behalf. We do it out of love, out of trust, out of the belief that family means something. And sometimes, that trust is misplaced. I learned something in my 35 years investigating fraud. The best con artists aren't strangers. They're not the people calling about your car's extended warranty or emailing about Nigerian princes. The best con artists are the people sitting across from you at Sunday dinner. The people who know your routines, your passwords, your weaknesses. The people you'd never suspect because you love them. My advice, if you want it, is this. Trust, but verify. Always. Even with family. Especially with family. Read every document before you sign it. Check your bank statements monthly. Keep your own copies of everything. Don't give anyone complete access to your accounts unless you're genuinely incapable of managing them yourself. And if someone tells you you're too old or too incompetent to handle your own affairs, get a second opinion from someone who isn't financially invested in the answer. I was lucky. I caught it relatively early. I had the skills to investigate, the resources to fight back, the documentation to prove what happened. A lot of people don't. A lot of people get cleaned out completely before they realize what's happening. A lot of people are actually vulnerable, actually declining, actually unable to protect themselves. Those are the ones who break my heart. I'm not vulnerable. I'm not declining. I'm just sad. Sad that my daughter valued my money more than my trust. Sad that I'll never know if she loved me or just loved what I could give her. Sad that Margaret didn't live to see this, because it would have killed her. Or maybe sad that she didn't live to prevent it, because she might have seen what I missed. I don't know. What I do know is this. I'm 63 years old. I'm healthy, independent, and capable. I have maybe 20 or 30 good years left, and I'm going to spend them protecting myself, trusting carefully, and making sure that when I do eventually need help, it comes from people who've earned that trust through actions, not assumed it through DNA. Rebecca sent me a birthday card last month. I turned 64. The card had a generic message about fathers being special. No personal note, no signature, just Rebecca printed at the bottom. I threw it away. Maybe that makes me cold. Maybe that makes me unforgiving. Maybe a better person would have given her another chance. But I spent 35 years watching what happens when people get second chances to steal. They steal again, because the first time taught them they could get away with it. The second time teaches them they'll be forgiven. I won't teach Rebecca that lesson. The house is quiet now. No more Sunday dinners. No more phone calls about nothing important. No more daughter. But it's mine, my name on the deed, my money in the bank, my decisions about my future, and that's worth more than I ever thought it would be.